Today on Summon Your Superhuman, we have a special guest coming to us all the way from Chicago, Illinois. Seems I have a few friends down that side of the world now, so I'm very pleased to introduce you to Alicia Frizzle. She is passionate about spiritual formation and embodies the spirit of an intuitive helper. She is a certified faith coach, mentor, and speaker with a keen understanding of faith and its endless benefits. She has dedicated her life to assisting people to achieve personal, spiritual, and professional goals. By exploring the superpowers of love, prayer, wisdom, and faith, she successfully helps clients reach their greatest potentials for the win. How exciting. I'm so excited to bring you on the show today, Alicia. Thank you for being here.
You're more than welcome. I am excited to be a guest. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
I think that there was something that connected us, that the excitement of summoning your superhuman that got your attention too. Is that right?
That's absolutely. I apologize. My cord came out. That's absolutely what caught my attention because my theme is empowering your superpowers. Mm-hmm. So when I saw your term superhuman, I instantly identified with that. It resonated with me because I see that as a superpower. Mm-hmm. I just use the word power, you use human, but both of them is superseding ourselves.
100%. And so you have a really superhuman story. So I'd love to dive into that if you'd like to share it with us.
Absolutely. It's a painful one, but and one that I don't tell often for that matter. So if I choke up a little bit, guys, just bear with me because I'm not used to telling the story. I'm starting to share it now. Mm-hmm. But when I was, I grew up in a 2-parent household and my life was very enriching. My parents, especially my dad, I was really close to him and he wanted to assure that I had the best education. And so he put forth the effort to make those things happen. However, life abruptly came to an end early on in life, very early, and my parents split. And I made the decision to live with my father. And some things took place that was beyond me. He had a girlfriend who was jealous of our relationship, who verbally expressed that, all the way down to becoming very angry, where she would like punch the refrigerator, put dents in the walls, different things like that, saying that my father acted like I was the only person that matters to him. And I didn't know at the time what was happening, but she concocted a plan. And I'm telling this because it's significant to the spiral of this is the turning point. And so she bought me a diary and pretended to be my friend. And, you know, I'm young and impressionable. We're talking at this point, I think I was around 12 when she, you know, was influencing me or manipulating me. That's a better word. And she bought me a diary and told me, oh, you know, every girl should have a diary. You should write it. So I enjoy writing. That's one of my strong points. I decided, okay, cool. I'm going to, of course, write in the diary. About a year later, she says, oh, you know, I caught your father reading your diary. You should put something in there worth reading. You should say you kissed the boy. And I wrote down I kissed the boy. Listening to her. And my father was livid. And he decided I couldn't live with him anymore simply because he thought I kissed the boy. Because that's what I wrote in my diary based off what this woman told me to do. And I mean, again, I was a kid. I didn't know any better. This is what she's telling me is supposed to happen. Right. And my father decided he wanted to get rid of me, and he did. But when he did, he drove me to where my mom lived. And except for taking me to her, he dropped me off on the side of a road with my bag of clothes. No money, no nothing, no explanations, no nothing. He just told me, pack your things. I'm dropping you off to your mom's. And I tried to find out why. And it came out later that was the reason. But I was on the side of that road for about 12 to 14 hours. And it was just me in the road in a bag with a broken heart and confused. And so that was the beginning of this young mind spiraling out of control. My mom was not equipped to take care of me. I'm not going to speak much on my mother because she's still alive. My father's deceased, and I can paint his picture a little differently without feeling bad. But a lot of bad decisions were made, a lot of twists and turns and hurdles, and a lot of fights, a lot where I was met with so much adversity that my young mind was not able to or prepared to fight the war of life. From older people manipulating me further to me having so lost and not knowing it, and coming to an understanding once I got older. I found my way through faith. There was something about the stars in the sky, the asteroids, our comets, that fascinated me. And I would constantly look up there and just talk to what I call the stars at the time. And for some reason, my love for the universe and looking up there for answers, I began to receive. I was certain that those stars would talk back to me. And eventually I grew to understand that to be God. And my faith believed that regardless to what was going on in my life in the moment, that I could use the faith and believe beyond my circumstance, and believe beyond the pain, the despair, believe beyond homelessness because I was homeless, believing beyond not having, knowing where my next meal was going to come from, believing beyond the betrayal, believing beyond people lying on me because people were lying and scandalizing my name, saying all sorts of things and I was this young, tender and timid young woman, and I had no clue about any of the things that I was experiencing. But I believe beyond that life is better than this. Regardless to everything that I call them hella souls, like an episode, I call them hella souls. Regardless of all the hella souls that I've been through, I believe beyond them. And believing beyond them opened a gateway in me. And I began to see beyond the realm of what was in front of me. And I began to see myself living in a happier place, living where people are kind, living where all the positive moments, not just me creating them, but also me experiencing them. You know, we focus a lot on what we create, but that's what we're created to do, is to create. But sometimes there are positive experiences that are already created, and we can come into them, and if we live in the moment, we can receive from them. And so I was able to manage to bring myself to both, to be mindful and understanding. Is that, you know what, let me pause. Understanding was a key pointer to my faith of being able to see beyond, because understanding where something is gives you a different perspective. It shifts your perspective to shape your reality, and it alters your core values. You know, for example, and then I'll move on, but for example, if someone walking down the street, they brush past you and they bump you abruptly and possibly even cause your body to shift or jolt off your balance, it will upset you in the impact. You'll think, oh my God, they're rude or something.
Yeah.
But then if you have that same moment and find out that person is on some type cancer or something, and maybe they just had medication or they just found out about it and they're kind of, not quite there because of something they're dealing with, it shifts your perspective to a more one of empathy and understanding. It's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But before you will be upset. Yeah. So it changes things to have an understanding. And so I wanted to point that out, because me gaining an understanding to those moments helped me to see beyond the natural realm of what I was dealing with, of what was in the surface in my everyday life, because we're not talking about me looking beyond something that I wasn't living. I was living in the fire. I was in the fire. And I made a conscious decision through understanding to look beyond that fire and know that I will not, this fire is not going to kill me. It's not going to burn me up. 2, I know that I don't have to live in a fire, but I know that this fire is necessary for, even if I couldn't have a full understanding as to why. And so being able to do that allowed, and it was a daily thing that I had to constantly work at my mind to say, don't allow this circumstance to shift you from who you are. Don't allow this person to say something and it takes you off your true nature. Like, to be true to myself. My natural self is kind. My natural self is understanding. My natural self is empathy. My natural self is ready to help you all the time. That supersedes me as I'm ready to help. And so no matter what is going on, as long as you're not trying to kill me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If it's not going to hinder my breath, it doesn't matter. And that's how I look at life. It doesn't matter if you're not trying to take my life. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do. And I'm a living proof because I've been through it and it doesn't matter. I went from being homeless, conquering my mind, to stay positively persistent. That's the way I say it. That. I'm positively persistent. And to be consistent with being positively persistent. And that consistency afforded me the visual to easily visualize my change, to easily visualize this goodness and mercy following me every single day. And I call that faith. It is my faith that took me there. It conquered my mind, gave me self-control, control of my most valuable possession, which is my mind. That's the only thing we can control, is our minds. We can't control anything else, you know? And so I decided that my mind would not master me. I'm going to master it. And I do that through the principles of faith. Faith helps me master my mind. And that translated into me receiving the rewards of faith. I'm of my faith, I'm a Christian. And in our Bible, it says that when you have faith, that it rewards you, it provides you with an evidence. And I live the evidence because I went from homeless to being a homeowner. And when I say homeowner, I am not meaning that I pay a mortgage. I own the house. I have the deed, paid cash, renovated it in cash. I elevated myself on a corporate ladder without a master's degree. Elevated myself right on up, walk through the door and believe. I don't care if I start off as the receptionist within 3 months or actually, I think I told myself 30 days. And I did grow in 30 days, just not to where I said. It took me 3 months to get there. But in 30 days, I went from being a receptionist, saying, hello, how are you? Come in, to being an administrative assistant in 30 days. And I got a raise. And I continued to climb. And then when I switched careers to real estate, I'm a licensed broker here in Illinois. I don't practice it today, but I own real estate. Let me say that. I don't just own my house. I have rental properties. Nice. So I have tenants now. I went from being homeless to owning the house to having tenants. And, you know, with the coronavirus, you know, me having the empathy and understanding of what it's like to be homeless affords me that same empathy to my tenants, you know, and it's my goal to give wherever I can reasonably without enabling. And I also went from poor relationships to a wonderful husband. My husband is kind. He's patient. Oh my God. He's so supportive of this dream of being a faith coach. Yay. You know, I resigned from my job. He's like, you know what? I'll write your resignation letter if you're not happy. Go live and be who you're called to be. That's how I'm able to do this. And, you know, he's instrumental. He helps me in every way. My husband, we've been together. It's been years at this point, but that man has never disrespected me. Yeah. I had a disrespectful mate before, you know, but my husband has never did that. He's never yelled. He's never called me out my name. He's never made me wait. I've always come. Well, he has put other things first, such as business. But when it comes to my dreams and things, he doesn't make me wait for that. And so those are my superpowers, is faith. And, being intentional, consistently working at it every day, and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling on my understanding to discipline myself so that I can see and transcend, see beyond the natural realm of my current circumstance, and transcend time. Because the things that I accomplished, it takes most people a lot of time to do it. But I, in my brain, no. My faith tells me I don't have to wait. I don't. The only thing I need to do is do the work that is required for this to manifest, and it will. So, and then it just superseded time.
Yep. Wow. I'm just taking it all in. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Like, I'm just nodding my head and smiling as you're speaking and just taking it all in. There's just so much I want to unpack there. I mean, like, from going from a young girl to, being lost and confused, really. Like, it's such a impactful time in our lives when we're that young and impressionable, like you said, and you're just going, what did I do? Like, and there's just so much to take in. It's a very, yeah, there's just so much there. And to be having to feel like you don't have that support and love around you. But you found some, I don't even know what to call it. Like, you found some almost reassurance that, you were looking like to the stars, that there was someone and something or some sort of support that was shining down on you from the stars. Was that around about that time, or was that a little bit later after all of the,
No, it was at the time.
Around that time?
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It was the situation that led me to pay attention to the stars.
Yeah, because you're looking.
I still love that today. I still look up there today.
I love looking at the sky. Like, this is something so beautiful about the sky. And yeah, as being a young girl and being like, this has to be more out there for me. Like, why is this happening to me? Where am I going to go from here? And all the trials and tribulations that you would have had to go through. A strong mindset, like Alicia is speaking about, it doesn't just formulate overnight. Like, she's really had to, what's missing from the story is the days and the weeks and the months of grind and just trying to soldier through, keeping that strong, brave face. Like, I know that was just such a long and painful time for you. And I'm sorry, I'm getting teary too, because I'm just thinking about how much you had to go through. It's heartbreaking to hear that you had to go through that, Alicia. And I just am so happy to hear that you found some strength and courage to persist. And you spoke about positive persistence. And I love that. I just think that you have to be consistent. You have to show up every day and believe that there is something greater for you that is going to come. This isn't my end game. This isn't my game over. There's hope. There's something more. I'm going to get it. It's going to happen. And that's a daily grind. And it's a muscle. Like, you have to flex every day to get stronger. She didn't just wake up one day and be like, hey, I got my superpower. No, like, we're talking, I'm just taking a stab, like a decade or more, like, of really just flexing longer. Exactly. And it's, you just have to be consistent. Like she said, like, consistently recognizing that things and people and circumstances going to happen and occur. But it's not happening to us. It's happening for us to go through. It's forcing us to get stronger and go through the tribulations of life. And a lot of people get stuck. And so just to hear that I'm sure you did. I'm sure there are many times you felt stuck and you weren't sure of the next step in the next direction, but you find a corner, you turn the corner, and you keep going. And it's interesting because I mean, this is not about me today. It's about you. And, you know, because I've gone through things, we all have. And having gone through the things that you've gone through, it sets you up for such empathy, to be able to help the people that you help today. Because there's not really anything that people can present you with and be like, you know, you're either going to really connect with them, or you just be like, look, I hear you, like, this is, so let me help you find your path to their
Yes.
life and and things like that. Yeah. And you spoke about that turning point. I mean, so I'm trying to gauge here that you would have, there would have been a moment there that you just gone, right, I'm gonna, you know, I'm homeless, I'm gonna turn things around, I need to make that, like, make a career, make a life for myself. You know, you spoke about that secretarial position where you started, you're like, I'm just going to start at the ground, 30 days, like, I'm going to start moving my way up. Like, was that the moment, or was there a moment before that just when, like, I'm going to change, like, I'm going to master not just my mind, but I'm going to master my life and design what I want to happen? Well, like, take us back there.
So no, well, it was layers.
Mm-hmm.
There were layers of turning points because you have to remember that when I basically became responsible for myself and on my own, I was around 13.
Wow.
I don't know anything. Luckily, my father paid for the education I had up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in an advanced school, and I have my learning, what is the word? I have a high learning curve. So that helped, you know, those things helped.
Mm-hmm.
So my first turning point, I was 17.
Okay.
That was the first turning point.
Mm-hmm.
And that was me in the stars and me understanding that's God.
Yeah.
And now at 17, I grabbed the Bible and I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter what this is. That turning point was, you're responsible for you. It doesn't matter what they've done. Doesn't matter that your parents abandoned you. None of that matters. Yes, they're wrong. Yes, they may be the reason, but life is happening to you. So that was my first turning point, was learning that. And those two things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I began to root myself in God and the Bible and learning. And I don't know, but I can't tell you why here, but I started in the book of Proverbs.
Okay.
It's known as the book of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
That book was the beginning to who I am today. And so that turning point led to the one of one, me having to come out of despair, or what would it be called when a person is kind of stuck in what has happened and they keep reliving those moments and they're not taking responsibility for their actions at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I understand that we make bad decisions based off of that surrounds our core values, our self-limiting beliefs. Mm-hmm. All of those things are shaped off our experiences, right? Yes. So I had to break free of that first. That was the very first layer that broke from me. And that layer allowed me to begin to cultivate my connection to the superpowers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, we're only talking about me connecting to them. Yeah, I was not educated in them or fortified, because that's my thing today, is be fortified, you know, but I had no knowledge of them. Mm-hmm. So I'm just connecting to something. Now I have to go through this process of learning them. Mm-hmm. So by the time I was 25, here's my next turning point. Mm. I was still making some bad decisions and trying my best to stop making those bad decisions. Why? Because I was used to making decisions based off the set of knowledge and understanding that I had prior to the moment. So now I have to allow the new knowledge to to take root in me, to transform me so I can gain my super strength. And that's how I saw it too. I saw it as a superpower, to the point that I thought I was crazy to think of it that way.
So how did that show up for you? Like what do you, when you say you felt like it was a super, like how did that show up? Or what was the feeling, or what was the?
It made me feel like I could conquer the world, but I was scared to tell somebody because I thought they'd think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
To use that word, because I saw it. It's because, I mean, if you really think about, I don't know what your faith is, but when you really think about the story of, I'm a Christian, so if you think about the story itself, it's very whimsical. It sounds like a fairy tale, one that I happen to believe.
Yeah.
But that's what it sounds like. So when you take that and you still share the power that you believe with someone else who believes, they still think you crazy. Why? Because it's self-limiting belief. Yeah. And the story is whimsical. You believe a whimsical story, but I can't take it a step further. So, but that's how I saw it. And the way it showed up for me was my fight. It was that mental battle of constantly. Here's a good way. If we get, what's that detox? When we feed ourselves all these like burgers, fried calories, and everything that's not good, greasy food, get your cholesterol out of whack, your diabetes, other stuff. But you take a detox, right, to cleanse your body out. That is how it showed up for me. That wisdom and faith show up for me in the form of cleansing me of that old knowledge that I had gained from the world, the carnal mind, carnal eyesight, dealing with things in a natural way and trying to get the maximum result with a natural remedy. It's not going to work. Yeah, it's just not going to work. And so, and which is why most people keep spinning their wheels and bumping their heads. You can't. You have got to transcend from yourself to understand that greater force, whether it be love, wisdom, faith, prayer, you have got to let it go and grab a hold of it and allow it to really cleanse you, because that's when a true transformation happens.
Yes, you did. So basically what you're saying is you did a mental detox. You had to clean out. It's like the feng shui of your brain, your mindset of your past, and realizing and same, I've gone through this journey, and I think it's really important that everybody does at some point. It doesn't have to be at any specific age. It's just at some point you need to go in and you need to clean up house and you need to figure out what. Sorry.
Can I say one other thing?
Of course.
This is something that we have to do often. It's just to say, our minds, it's just like our bodies. We have to take care of it daily. It needs to be nourished. It needs to be like when we take showers every day, we have got to clean our minds every day. Get rid of the stuff that's no good for us. The difference is we can't take a drink or something. We have to do it. We detox thought with thought.
Yes. 100%. Thank you for saying that. Yes, that's 100% true. It's not just a one-time only thing. I made the mistake of thinking that it was at some stage in my life, and I'm like, cool, I've done my work. I've gone back to my past. I've healed my wounds, like a cat sort of like licking their paw when they're done. I'm like, I'm done. I'm clean now. Like but no, things keep coming up. And like you said, you have to keep recognizing, because I speak about this a lot. The body is always communicating to us. Always. And we have to pay attention, because the body is always right. And the body is always saying something to us, whether it is because we're not eating the right foods, or whether it is because we don't quite, we're not in the right environment, or we don't have the right people around us. Like, we constantly have to assess and reevaluate our situation, and it's evolving, ever evolving, just as every day is ever evolving. So yeah, it's a very powerful thing and you initiated that. So that superpower, that empowerment that she felt, was, it's incredible, because you felt empowered. You had a belief. You eliminated your limitations, and those old values, because a lot of the time we have these values that aren't even ours. They've been projected upon us from other people.
Correct.
And then we realize that, and we're like, okay, so then you have to, again, reevaluate and be like, well, what are my values? You spoke about like, I'm a kind person. And, and I resonate with that. I try to live and be a kind person myself also. I mean, this is why I'm doing this, right? And so you have to determine, well, who do I want to show up in the world as?
Yeah.
But yeah. So,
and
sorry, go on.
And I was just going to say, and I want to show up as faith.
Nice. That's beautiful. Faith is a beautiful word. And I think a lot of people may shy away from that because they think it may mean one thing or another, but it's such an open-ended, beautiful word, really, when we think about it, isn't it? Just does, irrespective of what your beliefs are, we're all human beings in this world, and belief sets you free.
Yeah. And it's, for me, although I am a Christian, I don't believe in imposing, upon anyone. I tell my story and that's that. But for me, when I use the word faith, everyone has faith. Faith runs the world. At first I thought it was money, but it's not. It's faith, because it takes faith in order to make that money to run that world. And nothing happens without faith. It all depends on how you want to use your faith. And that is my why. My why is to help people learn how to use their faith virtuously, regardless of what you believe, but virtuously apply it so that when you reap the evidence, because faith will come through for you, there's beyond no doubt. Because see, people think like, oh, well, I don't want to have faith in God because of this reason when it comes down to their dreams and their goals, right? And they think God's not going to do it. It's not that he may not do it. It's just that once you invite him into the program, he does it his way. And if you have faith to understand that, then you'll wait on his method. But if you say, I don't want to wait, I'm going to go over here and do X, Y, and Z to get this same thing done, you're still using faith to do it. You just decided to take it from God and put it 100% in yourself or in someone else. And I use the scenario of, it's pretty graphic, but it's true. And not graphic as in explicit, but it's a bad example. So warning, but it's clean. But you have a woman, right? I like to minister to women more. I minister to men too, but more women. But it's common that a lot of guys are trying to pay women, right? For whatever. We just say for whatever favor. So let's say you have this financial issue sitting on the table, I being guilty of it, right? And here it is, you want to believe God to do it, and then you have anxiety that everything's gonna fall apart if it don't happen today. We all feel that super anxiety, and and it's just the forces of good and evil fighting for you, or about you. And it makes you feel like if it doesn't happen today, my life is going to be ruined. I felt that before, and my life wasn't ruined the times that I did wait on God. And so, but at the end of the day, you decide, I'm not going to wait because it needs to happen today. You don't trust God enough to do it for you, so you go do it yourself. And it happens to be with a guy who offering you it for a favor or something. And a lot of women can identify with the fact that they've done that. And it's no judgment here. I get it. But at the end of the day, you still operated in faith because you had to believe that man was going to come through for you the same way you didn't believe God would, who created you and care more about you than any other human being ever will. And so for me, that's why for me, faith is not about if you believe in God or not. If faith makes it happen, it just depends on if you're going to make it happen in a good way or if you're going to make it happen in a bad way. But either way, you needed faith to make it happen. Otherwise, you would have never did it.
Yeah.
You got to believe it to do it. Anything we do, I want to build a house or I want to buy a house. You believe if you have good credit, if you have a job, you save your money, meet their requirements, you believe that they're going to give you the loan for the house if you can't afford to buy it cash. That's faith. Is believing in a thing that hasn't taken place, period. Yes. And you can see that it will happen for you, and that regardless if it's good or bad. And so my goal is to, because when you do things with faith that are not good, yeah, you can make it. It's going to manifest most likely, and at the end of the day, but what consequences come with it? So my thing is, I help, not want, because I do help them people today. I help people live a life of faith, applying their faith virtuously, so that they can have sustainability, because when you do it in a virtuous way, it's sustained. And then 2, you don't have the guilt, the condemnation, and the consequences, because there's cause and effect. So if you do it the wrong way, you still got, you got a problem that's coming behind it. So, and then you're going to lose it. You're not going to keep it. You can build it, but it won't stay. And then not only that, you got other issues that are going to surface because you didn't do it the right way. It's cause and effect. It is the divine law. Let's just remove religion from the table. It is the law. Cause and effect is law. Yeah. It's the law of the earth. It's the law of the universe, the law of the world, whatever your language is for it. It is a law. Cause and effect. It is there, and you can't escape it. No man can hope it away, wish it away, or pray it away. You cannot escape it. It just is. It just is. It comes with life. Yeah. And I'm very cognizant to assure myself with dealing with psychoanalysis and psychotherapy, and just psychology in general, because I need to be able to resonate with everyone and reach you where you are. You can't escape it.
Yeah. Wow. Again, there's so much there that I want to unpack, but you touched upon the importance of that belief and faith and belief, and they are very much intertwined. Like you said, like you have to have the belief that if you just keep going and things are going to happen as they should, and but you have to help the process, right? So there was a point there I wanted to touch, which was the stuck, because some people, we go through these periods where we feel stuck, and then we have to believe that we will become unstuck. What would you say to the person who is feeling stuck and, let's say, scared? Because generally those two are associated. They're feeling overwhelmed, or they're feeling fearful of their next step. What would you say to that person to encourage them to find that belief and faith within themselves to move forward?
Well, I'm going to try to find 2 ways to say it so that I can resonate with, if anyone in the audience is not of a Christian faith, because my first approach is the fact that what I did, I can only tell you what I've done. And what I did was I came to understand. I told you, understanding is powerful, y'all. Make sure you understand whatever it is, understand, because that can help you get unstuck too. I understood that I did not decide to be born. It was not my decision for me to have life, period. And so now that leads to the question, okay, well, why am I here then? Who made that decision? And because I believe in God, I say God made that decision. That is the understanding I've come up with. And then that led me to say, well, what role do I play? What does he want me to do? The only way for me to figure that out was to make sure that I became knowledgeable about him and my creator. So becoming knowledgeable about him wasn't just reading the Bible for me. It was me taking that word and actually applying it to my life, no matter how painful, because it does get painful, but no matter how painful and disappointing it was, I still applied it, because I decided I was going to trust the person who created me. So I took those principles and I made them applicable to my life. I learned to love myself through them. And part of loving me was to learn how to deny me. I had to deny myself. And that's the true self-love. And meaning deny everything that I thought I knew, and deny everything I like, possibly not everything, but a lot of things, but just denying anything about me that was not part of what I was learning about him. And then when I lived it, that's how I became to know it. So for me, that's what knowledge is. Knowledge isn't just reading the book and obtaining the information. To me, that's gaining information. When I read, I obtain information. But when, like a scientist, you put it to the test, and now you know. Yep. And so that is how, for me, knowing God is not reading his word, it's taking his word and putting it in action, and then you live out the results to find out if that is true or not. So doing that is how I became unstuck. Doing that helped me to know what my purpose is. Doing that helped continuously, because it's not a one-time thing, it continuously helped me evolve within my mind, to not be encapsulated in my thoughts, to know that I don't have all the answers, and to know that even though I am the CEO of my life, that I don't have all the answers for it. That sometimes the answer, like their CEOs today, they have tech meetings around the world. My previous employer, he used to go to tech meetings, and it was an all CEO tech meeting where CEOs from around the world would get together and be in a room, and they would bounce ideas off each other, and each one of them would come back. Every time he come from that meeting, he had new things he needed to implement. Okay, write this down, do this, do that, da 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 da. And it did. It definitely advanced us. We made more, the company made more money, our bonuses got bigger, And so what I'm saying is that becoming unstuck sometimes requires you to have to hear from someone other than what's going on in your mind, to be able to deny yourself through love, to know that you don't have all the answers for your own life. And so that was part of becoming unstuck for me in a godly sense. Now, in a natural way of becoming unstuck, which I hate to address because I'm a spiritual person, is kind of the same thing. You just, I probably shouldn't travel down that road because I'm a God woman. So
I think it's basically the same thing. I don't think that there needs to be like that translates in all languages, Alicia. It's like it's taking responsibility and for your actions and action it, because I mean, it's true. Like, knowledge isn't power. It's only potential power. You learn and you don't implement, because people think, oh, I know that, I've heard that a million times. And I'm like, yeah, but have you tried it? Have you practiced that? Well, no. Well, then how do you know? Because, if you don't know unless you actually have done it. And I make a habit of doing that. Actually, if I learn something new, I would try it myself and see if I like it. And so I experience it. And an important point you spoke about there is too many people try to think, oh, I got this. Like, I'm going to go it alone. I know what to do. And then they don't really own their stuff. And it's an important point is taking first, actually, is getting to that vulnerable place where you're actually open to receive in whatever shape or form that is, and then taking responsibility for yourself moving forward, that these are the action steps that I'm going to take, and this is where the growth is going to come from. Because you said, like, I don't have all the answers, and we're not going to know all the answers, and that's correct, but questions are the answers. If you're constantly asking the questions and you're being inquisitive and asking, like, oh, what's the next step? What can I do next? Where am I going to go from here? Like, it's, a lot of people say, like, you either grow or you die. And that alone should try to get you unstuck, because you're feeling stuck because you're not growing. So what's the next step?
You know what? There's another thing as you're speaking. It's something, it reminded me of something that I face with a lot of my clients, because, I'm a faith coach, and that's what I do. I help people bridge the gap between them and their goals through the principles of faith. And one of the things two things I come across a lot is, one, some people, you tell them or you help guide them and they don't take it at all, and they keep repeating this cycle. But then I've come across people or you can see, you discern what's about to happen, or hey, I've been in this book before, I know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
So different players, but because it's their own life, I know, no, I got this. But then the other thing that I face a lot is eating from too many places. It's, you scattered. You cannot be that scattered. Yes, when you said this about seeking the answers, yes, seek the answers all day, but you have to stop for a moment and internalize and process and separate, weed it out. Keep what you need and dismiss the rest. Yeah. But you can't consume from all these different places, because I have a client now that's what they were doing. They're just grabbing from everywhere. Yeah. And it's like, you don't know your identity because you haven't stopped to consume what you do have and put it into action to establish yourself. And you keep grabbing from everywhere, because that will keep you stuck too.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to point that out.
Yes, no, thank you. That is a super important point. Mm-hmm. It's true. And I see that too. Yeah, 100%. Thank you for elaborating on that, because it's exactly what I am speaking about. It's taking ownership. And so like those people and those behaviors are trying to seek wisdom and knowledge from all these different places, or thinking, well, I'm doing the things, I'm trying all of the things and none of the things are working. So it must be, there's nothing right for me. And it you know what I mean? Like they're just like, oh, but I tried this, I tried that, and like they're scattered. The word was scattered, which you said, and I think that is the best way to describe it, because they haven't taken that moment to gather themselves and to really identify with where they're going, and etc. Like that is crucial to try to
and don't turn cliches into proverbs. That'll help you become unstuck too, because of like nowadays with the world we're living in and how accessible communication platforms are. There's so much information being distributed and it sounds good, right? But it doesn't make it accurate. Yeah. Just because sound good doesn't mean it's right. And that's another thing that I'm just kind of pointing out a few things about being unstuck of things that I face with my actual clients is because I've had cliches repeated to me and I'm like, okay, but it doesn't have any power. It's not actually going to transform your life. And not another thing that could keep people stuck is just negativity altogether, because there are those cliches that, I don't really know, like, if it's in Australia, but because I do know that countries, there is a different tone of language and things like that. So I don't know if it's there, but here in America, there's a lot of positive cliches with negative undertones. Like my old, sometimes you just got to dismiss people from your circle that's not doing this or something like that. It's like, if you got time to think about that, then you're definitely not growing, because that shouldn't even be something in the forefront of your mind about dismissing people from your circle. Nobody can build an empire without first establishing a friendship. So you need people. We need, if you want a business, you need people to buy. You need people to support you, people to talk to in general, a shoulder to lean on. So, it's just not getting caught up in the cliches, regardless to what they are. I mean, I could point out so many. Oh my God. Yeah. And I'm like, why is that even on your mind right now? We're to evolve, and evolving requires us evolving together. Not as no man can evolve by themselves. No one. No one never has, and no one ever will. And so just being focused on things like that will hinder you, and your mindset will begin before you know it. It's like you're chipping away little pieces at a time, and before you know it, you're totally consumed, because that's how the forces that work against you are. They're not going to bombard you and hit you at one time. It's piece by piece, and before you know it, you're like this whole other person.
Love it. It's very true. And it's the painful road is the one where you try to take it alone. And, and that just takes me right back to the start with that, the young Alicia that was sitting on the sidewalk with her suitcase and, thinking I can only imagine what Alicia was feeling at that time. But when she discovered that she was not on this path alone, and then that's when true strength came. You know, we all need to have, and I know it's trendy to say tribe nowadays, but you know, we need good relationships around us, and having a successful business or even just a successful fulfillment of life requires good relationships around us, which is very, very important, because it assists us, it helps guide us and groom us, you know, into the women and men that we want to be in this world. I think we've touched upon so many great things. Thank you so much for sharing everything you have today. One of the questions that I want to ask you, that I ask everyone, is what does summoning your superhuman mean to you?
Summoning my superhuman means to me is to live and walk by faith intentionally every single day, and applying my virtue so that I can assure that I have sustainability, maximize my results, and just be living the freedom of guilt-free, for sure. Just live in the freedom of knowing that I have done all that I can do to assure that humanity continuously evolve in a unified and loving way. That's summoning my superhuman.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Alicia. I think like that's a perfect way to finish off, and we'll say amen. And so it
Amen.
is, as
And
that
so
means. And yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing with